Okay, so welcome to Doctors and Dungeon Masters and D&D and such and so forth. I am your host, Dungeon Master Galore, Morgan Forbush. I am a cultural anthropologist master student, cultural anthropology master student here at UWM, and we'll just go down the line.
All right, I'm Thomas Malaby. I'm a professor of anthropology here at UWM. I'm playing Jarl the Oak, a dwarven battlemaster.
Hey, I'm Mati. I'm a cultural anthropology PhD student, and I play the Haya the Barbarian.
And I'm Luke. I'm a cultural anthropology master's student, and I'm playing Verfa the dwarf.
Alrighty. I'm trying to move
Oh, we've
this.
successfully ridded ourselves of all the English folks. Plot is successful.
Good riddance. I'm just kidding.
They are lovely people who just happen to like books more than we
That's
do.
true. More than people.
More
That's
than
what
people.
it is.
Yeah.
More
No,
than people.
I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
I've read 15 ethnographies this semester. I think I like books as well.
Yeah, you did an awesome job. Ati did an independent study with me and just read up a storm across the anthropology of media. It was good stuff. That was fun.
Nice.
It was like the ethnography of institutions class where we read 15 books.
Oh yeah, ethnography
Yeah,
of
15 books, 15 weeks.
I miss teaching those kinds of classes. You know, when I teach 4 courses a year, which I'm not doing when I'm chair, I often teach a course, usually in the honors college, where we read 4 ethnographies or a combination of ethnographies and memoirs, and it's a great counterbalance to teaching all the theory that I end up teaching all the time in 803 and 744. So I miss that. But I'm going to do it this fall. I'm teaching a course on American masculinities in the honors college, and that'll be really fun.
All right, I think I got it to where me as the streamer have it.
Okay. Yeah, it looks fine now.
Sweet. I wanted you to make sure that we could see the chat because the chat, weird things happen in the chat, and so we need to be able to see the Roll20 chat. But we don't have Balgair at the moment. Balgair and Ren, Balgair, played by Matthew, and Ludvier, played by Ren, may or may not be joining us today. Matthew said he'd come in at 2, so we might see him in about 40 minutes. Ren was unsure when he was going to come in. So.
All right.
Alrighty.
So someone give me a recap. You know, Haya, you were not there, but you know, between you and Verfa, you can kind of decide who shared the information.
With who?
Basically, who was telling the story?
Right. So yeah, so I'm Verfa's making his soup, and he's excited that there are now dumplings.
Right, and in fact, yeah, looking at the chat, it couldn't have been a Verfa, right? Because you were making soup, and we had tried talking about sort of common alchemist interests, you know,
right.
and that wasn't going terribly well.
Yes.
Jarl tunes out very quickly as soon as Verfa starts talking anything technical. So it couldn't have been Verfa. So Haya, you know, maybe if we
I was with the witch, if that is the case.
Right. So do you want to sort of, if it's okay with the DM, we could have Haya kind of recap telling the story. What would you do when you come in to the shack with this news now that you're back with us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's kind of a good role-playing moment of, I have information.
Right.
As Haya enters the shack, he's gonna walk to Jarl and will say, I think we found him.
Who found him? Carl? That's when the dumpling falls.
Yes.
Tell me everything.
So, you know that Captain Witch of the bars and taverns that I went?
Yeah. Never trust those types.
Well, she has seen him. in here, in the
Seen
woods.
Carl
Yeah.
around here,
2 months ago,
nearby.
2 seasons ago, nearby in the woods.
Right.
He wanted to start it. I'm gonna read through my notes.
Yeah.
He wanted to start a new business like the one we had, and he went to the east 2 seasons ago. He want to build and restart his life.
So he traveled east 2 seasons ago. That must have been when we were overseas on that long trade route run. Oh, we just missed him, I bet.
And I made a deal. The witch is going to reach out to Carl by magical means, I guess. You know, we had one guy in Underdark who just sent messages to people.
Yeah, I never understood how that worked.
Yeah, me neither. And she's gonna send a message to him, learn his location.
Did we pay her to do this? Is this a contract thing?
Yeah, I paid her half of
Okay.
the payment.
All right, so
I don't recall how much I paid, but
You
I guess
pay-
it was 20 goals total, and I paid 10.
Yep.
all right. You paid 10 gold. Okay. Probably no reason to betray us here that I can think through. So,
Well,
all right, that's probably
even-
reliable information.
Even it is not reliable, or if she betrays us, we have something now.
We do have something. We have something.
And
I can't believe it.
And she said, "Come back in 2-3 weeks, and you'll have the information."
My God, I can't believe it. We'll find Carl. Carl is alive.
He's alive.
He's alive.
or was alive.
Shut up, DM. Don't be a bummer. Don't be a bummer.
If any of the party says something like that, like if Lud says something like, "Well, he was alive back then," or something like that, I would say, "Shut up. It ain't easy to kill my brother."
Or just throw a
He's
dumpling
alive.
at them.
Yeah, I throw a dumpling. Absolutely, throw a dumpling.
Really
at him
hot
when he says
dumpling.
otherwise. Yeah, fresh out of the steamer or something. Well, this is amazing. And then what Jarl's going to do immediately is get into his stuff and get his map, like the one we look at, and just start poring over it and thinking about, timing of travel and how far someone could get. Like, even though we have to kind of wait for her information in 3 weeks, he can't really wait. He feels comfortable if he's got, tactical things to think about. So he's going to want Haya to join with him and sort of saying, all right, if he went east, where would he have gone? Here's these settlements, that kind of thing. So we'll be occupied with that, I bet.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the artificer was with you guys.
Yeah,
by the way.
Ravel.
Yeah, Ravel. You just walk in with random man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
And he
So
is...
he's here too? Is he in the shack?
Yeah.
Yes. I was gonna type in the chat, but I didn't want to distract. But I was saying that, Verfa, knowing that this is sort of a impertinent conversation, would probably be keeping him busy, off to the side with the soup or the dumplings or something.
Mm-hmm. All right, that sounds good.
I don't remember what he was doing.
So like last time y'all were doing stuff, you guys were at like the blast site, and you happened upon this guy who was like, looking around for pieces or evidence and stuff, and you kind of came to the conclusion that he was an artificer, but he's definitely totally not an artificer. 100% not an artificer. But no, he's totally an artificer. And so you kind of were like, well, we have this box. Do you want to come look at this box with us? And then you dragged him to a witch, and then you dragged him back to your cabin.
That's right.
With the promise of a good meal. So.
All right. He's going to get that.
Yeah.
Yes. And so now, yes, because I remember, so we've all but confirmed that he is an artificer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was debating whether or not to reveal that I am an artificer
Yeah.
because we're not the same. We're not the same.
We're not the same.
But
Just deny that you are an artificer as well, and that's your secret bond.
yes,
Bond.
that we both know.
You both like look
Yeah.
at each other like represent like artificer respect artificer sort of thing.
Yes, recognize. Yeah,
Recognize.
I did think it would be funny to like cast Mage Hand and like tap him on the shoulder, and then when he turns around, it's like the little mechanical hand versus. Anyway, won't go there.
Welcome. All right.
Well, I think
So-
I think it'd be funny if at some point, kind of unconsciously, you've been meaning to sort of not do anything explicitly, but unconsciously you just use one of your devices, and then
Yeah.
sort of the two of you look at each other and sort of, or maybe you're both unconsciously doing it at the same moment, and it's just like, well, let's ignore that, or whatever.
Yeah. See, I have the advantage in it, not like roll advantage, but it did, narratively that rather than metal and sheerly mechanical things, I use a lot more natural materials. So even then, it sort of looks a little bit more rustic. But anyway,
I mean, when you say that, I just kind of imagine it being like mossy things.
Yes.
So you just have like this moss covered mage hand.
yes.
Oh.
So I think we were kind of waiting for Lud too, right?
I think Lud was with you. I think we kind of stopped because we wanted to make sure that we had that Carl could have the Jarl stuff.
Right. Yeah,
Discussions.
and Jarl isn't even noticing this other guy is there.
Mhm.
Right.
At this
So
point.
then, well, yeah, I guess out of game then we're waiting for Ren because we're waiting for Lud to look at the box.
Yeah. You
Oh.
all can look at the box. It doesn't matter.
So what are they gonna do? What's Ren going to do with the box?
Lud and Verfa, with the help of Ravel, are try to reverse engineer the box.
What goal did you have in mind with it? Did you guys want to like try to trace it or try to figure out who made it or
I think the goal was to ping it back to the person who
Right.
who has
Find out
access
where
to
they
it.
are.
okay.
Yeah. I guess it will depend on the affordances of the object. No, like if we figure that, they only transport to it because we know that they can transport to it, but like if we can figure out what they would use it for, right? So if they'll transport to it every time it's in danger of X, we'll try to spoof them into thinking that it's in circumstance X, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get them to transport to us.
Yeah.
And so we were, we found out that it sends 2 signals per day, and I think we had discerned that it was going to send another one soon, or
There's
or
one more
tomorrow or something.
that's going to happen. We don't know when.
Right.
It
Right.
happened
It's-
once, and if it has 2 charges, it may happen
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
sometime soon.
It has 2
Right.
charges per attunement.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were gonna, see if there was a way that we could determine when that time was.
Okay.
I think that was our first step.
Yeah. Then there's all kinds of possibilities from there, like, well, this is Jarl, this is me, but like, whether we could make it send confusing signals or wrong signals or
Right.
reverse, there's a lot of different options, but
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
we're starting
Yep.
small.
Here I'll go on this side so you can see my cat. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that was I think that was more like Lud's objective, right? Was, like Verifa's interested in it because it's, it's probably tied to the great web of being or whatever, but it's not, he would be interested to know, like, okay, if they do jump to it, are they flying through the mycelial network or what? How is that happening? But he's not quite as concerned with
Mm-hmm.
um,
Okay.
with that part of it.
Cool. All right. So yeah, you can kind of convey that to Ravel and kind of figure that stuff out. Give me a little perception check on the box itself. Like, you have it,
Sure.
you're not being presumably chased by guards or stuck in a sewer.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
give me, yeah.
Let's see. Perception. 11, 14.
14. Okay. Okay, so you're kind of looking at it, and you're taking, you might be like trying to move things around and like mess with it, kind of like doing a Rubik's Cube where you're like looking at it, trying to figure out what the best moves are. And you don't quite get any action. It doesn't actually like open at all, but it does. You do feel like there are mechanisms that if you push a certain piece of wood or move a little bit of an engraving or turn something, that you do feel mechanisms shifting around. So it does seem like this box could be opened if you want to try. You can also just attempt to destroy it, but
Yeah.
but
No, I probably won't destroy it. So there is there any. So it seems like it opens, but this is going to sound really stupid, but so like is there any indication of like how it opens? You know what I mean? Like there's no hinge or anything. It's just like does it seem like you said Rubik's Cube? So like if you twist it the right way, it would open, or
so like with a 14, you really can't tell. It looks like it's pretty, like it was made to be almost unopenable, or like seem like it's just like a brick, like a solid wooden block. You could like, you kind of surmise that it might just be really well made, so the top is really flush, and it's certainly like locked in place or something, and you have to turn certain things and move certain other things. There's my other cat. To open it, but you can't see any hinges or anything specifically like this is the
Gotcha.
spot to open it.
Okay. And then with the symbols on the outside, is there anything I can read?
The symbols outside definitely, they look a little bit like looking at them, you kind of dismiss them as just kind of like fanciful written like a Elvish script. Looking at them, if anyone like knows any semblance of Elvish, they just kind of look like one or two Elvish symbols that are put on there and made look really fancy. Like when someone gets like a um, Chinese character on them that they don't really know what it means, but it looks really fancy. That's kind of what you surmise has happened with this box. It's kind
Okay.
of well decorated. The symbols might mean something in context to the owner or in context of the spell, but you can't quite tell that.
More icons than
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, they
Okay.
look more like icons than words.
Sure. Jarl, do you speak Elvish or read Elvish?
I believe so. Yep. You.
Do these mean anything to you?
All right. I'm going to take a close look at them, DM.
Okay. If you want to just look at like specifically at the box, you can also give me a perception check, and
Okay.
and you can see. I'll give you the runes for free. But if you're just like, if you want to like, if it's in your hand and you're moving it around, you might also see something.
Can Verify sort of give me any help because he knows the object well, like direct my attention?
Sure.
Now that I've looked at it, I've probably fished out my tinker's tools and am poking at it, pointing things out.
Yeah. That works.
All right. Is this investigation or perception? Which did you say?
do investigation. We'll do
All right.
investigation.
That's
And you
minus
can-
one.
And you'll get advantage on it.
Advantage. Okay, minus one, 14 with advantage.
Okay, so you can definitely like looking at the runes. There are definitely more icons, like we were saying. They say like you recognize a name, like some Elvish runes that look like a city name. So maybe it says like Terradlun or something like that, like an Elvish city name. And then
Mhm.
you see um, there's some other runes that say like you are here or something funny like that. They're definitely meant to be just decorative. They don't really give any clues or anything. There is one
Okay.
on on one side of the box that has um, an engraving that looks a little bit different than the other engravings. It's less fancy, but it definitely looks like um, it was carved with a purpose rather than just being fun looking. And it
Okay.
says it what does it say? Where does it say notes? Where did I write that? It says apart. So that's just kind of like apart or synonyms to like um,
Like separate?
separate or disparate, like kind of like those kind of synonyms sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in Elvish
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of like this could mean that, or it could mean that, or it could mean this, but I actually don't know Elvish. But I feel
So,
like it's one of those
Would you
languages.
say fractured? No.
did someone take notes on that?
Yep.
Were you taking notes? Okay. So first of all, I'm going to tell all this to Verify, and then the city name, is it one that I recognize either from the Underdark or from above ground?
um, the city name here. Let me. So you don't really recognize. Oh, everyone's going to be able to see me going to this map because I need to look at things. The city name you don't quite recognize from your travels. You've kind of been, around and looking around, but you do know that there's, elvish pockets of people. Like they're kind of elvish people are spread throughout the continents. They're not really isolated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there are specific like city states that are mostly elvish. Um,
Okay.
and you know that the principality that's south of the caliphate, so on the south part of the continent you are currently on, is mostly elvish. And then the large area of Sidrian, which is south of where the dwarves are from, is mostly an elvish kingdom. So you don't quite recognize it as like oh, this is a city I've been through or I would know of, but you can kind of know that the elves are from these two spots are specifically elvish places that would have elvish names of settlements.
Right. Those are the places where the locations actually tend to be in Elvish. So it's
Yes.
probably, if it's an above world location, it'd be from one of those two places, and I'd probably recognize it if it were an Underdark
Yeah,
location.
it definitely is not written in like Underdark, Undercommon or something which uses
Right.
like
Yeah.
Elvish
Yeah.
script.
Or the weird form of Elvish from the Underdark or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one, the latter one, which looks means apart or separate, I'm going to, really convey as much of that nuance as I can to Verify, and you say this is the different one really here.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get the sense that the city name might be sort of like a maker's mark kind of thing, like indicating where it was made?
I think if you point it out to like Verfa and you kind of are like looking at this,
Right, he might be able to figure that out. Yeah.
he might go from like a crafter's sort of
Right.
perspective, be like, oh, that might be like a maker's spot, like that's where the boxes are from.
Right.
But you're not entirely sure because you don't know how Elvish artisanship works unless someone does.
Okay.
Would Verfa know Elven artisanship?
I was just thinking that because you said the second potential area where the
Sidrian, yeah.
Yeah. So that's south of the dwarves, which is where I'm from.
Yeah.
And then and my route when I picked up help me out here. Kamiko
Kamiko, yeah.
would have been, if I'm remembering our map right.
Yeah.
So I would have gone south from the wasteland through.
And you would have gotten to Palilia.
Right. So it would be through human.
Oh yeah, I can bring that.
Elvish, and then
there. You're on the map.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would have gone through that yellow area, and I guess maybe it doesn't work given the whole of the world there. But I guess in my backstory in my head, then from Falilia, that's where I met Kamiko, and then we sailed up to maybe I'm pointing to my screen like you can see it. To
I do that too.
How do I show a spot?
If you're on the thing and you just hold down click, it'll ping.
All right. So then we would have sailed from probably there to like here, and then worked our way north. So I would have passed through that yellow territory there.
Yeah.
But whether I remember any of that,
Sure. Give me a memory check.
History?
Intelligence probably. Just to remember something.
Sure.
Yeah.
14, dirty 20.
A dirty 20. Oh yeah, because artificers cast with intelligence?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. We have more intelligence casters instead of just everyone that's a charisma caster.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of being like, yeah, paladins cast with wisdom because that's what they cast with in most things, and they're like, no, it's charisma. I'm like, why? Okay.
That's actually kind of a shout back to old D&D, where the paladin class was a charisma-driven class.
Interesting. I mean, they're kind of like the jocks of the world, so I can kind of understand.
Yeah, and there wasn't spell casting back then. I don't think it was all just special abilities, but it was charisma kind of driven that, and strength. It was more multi-attribute based. But anyway,
fair enough.
Yeah, and I suppose Fairfoot being a clan crafter, working his way through any region, be it Elvish or whatever, would be sort of keen to see how things are made and distributed and what they're made of.
Definitely. And so I can imagine that like Jarl's showing you this creator's mark and Verf is looking at it and you're kind of reminded it does seem kind of like a maker's mark. It's interesting that you've seen Elvish creations and you might have seen similar puzzling closures, not actual like boxes, but maybe like little mechanisms to get into journals and things. So it's just like kind of little tiny crafts like that are, the standard fare like Ren fairs, like the journals at Ren fairs that have the weird clasps and things. You've probably seen a lot of those traveling around, and this is kind of similar to that. But it definitely seems like it would be a spot for a maker's mark. The actual craftsman, or the artisan is not listed, which is weird. Normally those are listed instead of a city name, but that is definitely where a maker's mark would be. But instead of actual artisan, it's a city. So.
Okay. So my out of character reaction to that is that if the city is responsible for its making, then that very well could be this if it's a homing device, right, that it's homing, it's either pointing to or pointing from that city at any given point. And so maybe I'll talk through that a little bit with Jarl, and then I'll since we have the NPC here, I'll mention it to Ravel before I mention it to Lud, just because that's less complicated for
it's complicated.
our purposes right now.
Yeah. So Ravel kind of looking at it, he's like, oh, I've never seen a box like this, and I feel like he just like takes it out of either of your hands. He's like, oh wow, this is a box. Like he's like inspecting it a little bit, like hastily trying to figure things out, and he's looking at the little rune that you point out that's a maker's mark, and he's like, oh well, I've never seen a maker's mark like that, but I put maker's marks on all of the little bits and bobs I do, even the stone that I can do stuff with, like the smelling stone or whatever, has a mark on it. You can see like it has like a little R, calligraphy R on it. Like, look. So it's interesting that they didn't, that not a craftsman claimed it. It was just like a city. Maybe, I don't know. So he like hands it back. He's interested. He's a little bit still confused, but he's like, well, I mean, the soup's good, but like box.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll point out to him too the the sort of the that the
I got one.
that the clasps, the sort of sealing mechanism resembles the Elvish mechanisms that I've seen, and I'll ask him if have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, we don't really get Elvish goods up in these parts. Most of the well, from what I hear, most of the really fancy like Elvish blades or weapons or magical items, trinkets or anything, they go right from that Principality of Al Rasha up into the Caliphate, and they just kind of disappear. They don't really get up to the Sultanate, and some people think that the Principality has been allied with the Caliphate for a certain number of years, and they're supplying goods and things to the Caliphate, and to at some point go to war with the Sultanate. I mean, war's been on the horizon for a long time, but I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that. I don't want to get drafted.
Sure. So yeah, maybe I'll follow his thinking here, and ask him, what are the ways that elvish artifacts like this might find their way into Treshire.
The ways that Elvish goods get to Treshire, or
yeah.
Well, the Elvish goods we do get are mostly, at least the ones that I've tinkered with and played with. I help repair armor as well as do my little hobby on the side. And well, we get some Elvish goods from coming in on ships from Palilia, from the Sidrian, what that place over yonder. And I do some repairs on that stuff. And some things, some magical items, the simple stuff like cleansing stones and things for inns and stuff get sent through. Sometimes they come up from the south, from the Caliphate, but a lot of times they come in on the ships from the far west, southwest. I had to
so this yeah, so something like this would be it's uncommon enough that it would not be this was not something that was traded around. It was
yeah,
probably brought here intentionally.
That's kind of how you get a feeling of, is that it's kind of a like, he doesn't recognize seeing anything like this, and neither do you really. Like, you've seen like little puzzle clasps and stuff, but you've never seen like an actual like box like this. And so it's definitely something that he doesn't recognize, something that's wouldn't have been traded. It's not like muck boots, where if you find like a footprint, you're like, oh, I can trace that. No, everyone has muck boots, but this one is definitely a strange object that somebody made and brought.
So, oh, look, it's Matthew.
Oh, welcome, Matthew.
Excellent.
Is he currently deafened? I know he's just.
Yeah. So I think what I'll do is, Ravel and I will continue to sort of poke at it.
Okay.
And then we'll let Bulgair hop in on the excitement here.
Okay.
when Matthew's ready. But the gears are turning that if we can't solve this, hey, Fairfa might propose that we venture more westward, but
Yeah.
if the tablet is even still like a collective concern, because it's he also understands that Jarl will want to find Carl, so
Yeah. That is the conundrum.
So when you said westward, so I only followed part of that. I didn't have the map up while you were doing it. I mean, I was kind of letting this be between you figuring out. How do you want to explain to us, or maybe you want to wait to do it, but how do you want to explain
so it would be if we can't find anything else out about this box, then it would be a matter of following the Maker's Mark to the source,
which is in Sindrian or down in the Caliphate?
Right. Yep, Sindrian. By way of Paulilia.
Paulilia. I can't.
Yeah.
It's really stupid. The one that I can pronounce is the weird one, so I can pronounce Zaraktur. Very good, but everything else I can't. And I have named these things.
So.
Okay.
It could be from Al Rasha, because Al Rasha is the other Elvish stronghold, or like den, I guess. It has a lot of Elvish there. But given the fact that Ravel hasn't seen a lot of the stuff from Al Rasha, he's seen mostly stuff from Sidrian, because things just don't come up from the Caliphate as much as they,
come overseas.
From overseas. So it's like, well, this is definitely Elvish make, but I don't know if this city is in Sidrian or Al Rasha. You're kind of leaning to Sidrian. Also, hello Matthew.
Is he
Is
frozen?
Matthew frozen?
Oh no, Matthew's frozen.
Yeah, he is. It's like, what's he doing?
He's staring. His picture is currently staring off into space.
Yeah.
He looked at Medusa.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh no. Did he leave? He left. Okay.
Maybe he's reconnecting.
Yeah. He'll be back. So yeah, that's kind of what you currently know. And then if you want to do a few Arcana checks for me, anyone can do Arcana checks if they want. As you're like handling the box and seeing if you can figure out what that rune is.
Yeah,
that's not going to do it. So
I'm going to try just for the heck of it.
Okay.
I got a 7.
You got a 7. Let me see if
I'm rolling in D&D Beyond. I got a 10.
Ooh. Ravel rolled 2s.
I'm gonna roll. I feel spicy.
You feel go for it. Roll for it.
I might have to imbibe in some mushrooms.
It was rather just a salt, not spicy at all. It was a 5. It was just salt.
Maybe sour even. Maybe 5 or lower is sour.
Yeah, it's just like too much lemon pepper, and it just tastes like awful acid with like some heat to it.
Yeah, like lemon pepper that's gone a little bit. It's gone a little off, so you just get the bad artificial lemon flavor, and you don't get anything else. And you're like, this is gross. I've done that before. Don't do that. But yeah, with so the highest was Verfa with like 10?
No, I had 4.
Oh, who had 10?
I had 10.
I had 7, sorry.
I had 7.
Not much better.
So you guys are kind of puzzled. You are puzzled by this puzzle box. So you're kind of looking at it and arcanaing it. Arcanaing it. So what you're doing is like you're looking at the rune and kind of trying to maybe see the rune, see if anything correlates with the rune or something, and you might everyone just kind of gets stumped. They just kind of stare at it and goes, I don't know what this means. Like, okay, whatever. Jarl gets a little bit more successful. Like maybe he pushes in 1 or 2 things and you hear some clicks, but then you press a wrong thing and everything just resets and you're like, dang it.
All right, well, I'm going to describe that I seem to make progress.
Yeah, so you got
Yeah, I'm gonna explain to Verify. Hey, wait, no. Here's what you're gonna do. It's just you gotta hold it like this, and then if you push here, because I'm kind of a strong guy, you push here, then that moved. It moved, and then something else was movable, and then everything went back to the way it was. So that's about as good as he can do in words for that.
And then it went back to normal.
Yeah, and then went back to the way it was. So there was something,
Yeah. So Verifo would say, well, if I could just get the damn thing open, and then he'll probably, light his cigar again to clear his head, and then go back to telling Jarl, like the nuances of the virtually non-existent magical properties of the particular type of tobacco he has. Just to think about something else for a minute and sort of,
I think I smell my dumplings burning. Excuse me.
Gaze out the window and try to reset the mental machinery a little bit.
Is Matthew here?
Can everybody hear me? Am I coming through?
Yeah,
there you are.
And you're moving and everything.
Great. I wasn't sure for a wee bit there, but I think I've managed to get it. I'm out of sorts my usual Wi-Fi setup, so apologies for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here.
Hello.
Excellent.
Right, well, spare no time. What's going on? Has anybody been getting into that food that I bought?
We're still eating dumplings.
Dumplings.
We made
And soup. Didn't you make soup, Verify?
Yep.
There's soup and dumplings. And
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Belgair might have just randomly passed out after maybe he ate a lot of ham and then passed out while everyone else was doing things. That's all. That's the only explanation I can have.
He froze again.
Oh no. Belgair.
Too much ham.
Too much. It's too much ham.
There's too much ham in the Wi-Fi.
It's too much ham. Oh. Well, we'll wait for him to come back after these select messages.
So at this point, Jarl loses interest in this and goes back to wanting to sort of figure out where Carl might be.
Yeah. Are you?
And the east is Principality of Jamal, right? That's when they say
It's-
went east. Is that basically where?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of, you don't know how the witch was not very, didn't have the specific of went east for this long. She just,
Right.
he went east. So it could be that he's still in Treshire, but it's also possible he's in the Principality of like Jamal.
And what is just the general? Everybody knows this if they hear the name Principality of Jamal. What is what's the reputation of that place?
It's it's not necessarily as wealthy as like the Sultanate or the Caliphate, but it is a well-off area. It's kind of a dukedom, or it's a principality, so it has a prince, sort of thing. So it has a monarchy somewhat. It's kind of seen as it's an isolated area because it doesn't really have like to trade with other people. They have to go all the way around, or they go overland to Treshire. So they're not really seen as, very large or large influence. They're not influential. That's what I want.
If it's a little wealthy, is it the kind of place where there's also some tolerated illegality? Because that would be a good place to have anything that would support gambling.
Yeah, since it's kind of seen as like a sort of well-off backwater area, it is kind of not necessarily a place of villainy and thievery or whatever.
I'm thinking more like a kind of Monaco type model. I mean, maybe not that wealthy, but like a little isolated. A lot of people with more money than sense, than they know what to do with, and they find things to bet on.
Yeah, and it might have been, you could have been like going towards there at some point. Maybe you stopped in Treshire to look at places, but Jamal might have been your end point to set up something like a kind of a black market punching sort of deal, because it is kind of that area where if something goes wrong and if you're getting hunted by the Caliphate or Cheshire, you kind of go to Jamal to just lay low for a little bit.
Perfect.
So
yes, he's there. Carl's there. I know it.
All right.
Yeah.
Is Matthew moving or is he frozen?
Maybe I'll blip in and out, so we'll just say the Belgian, maybe drunk. I don't know. Lovely. Dumplings ain't too bad too.
Alrighty.
I couldn't understand that. What was that last bit?
The dumplings are good.
Dumplings ain't too bad too.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I know, Bob. So what were we just talking about? I was just trying not to doze off here.
Well,
So
they've been working on that little box over there.
All right. Wee box.
And Fairfa has picked up the box again and is growing frustrated with his inability to solve it.
Does my showing him what I did, does that give him another chance at all?
Yeah, sure. If he wants
That's
to.
That's kind of what I was hoping.
Oh, I see.
If you want to roll again, I'll just say you can roll again with Arcana.
All right.
You might not get advantage, but you can
All right.
roll.
All right. Maybe he flipped through his notebooks too or something.
He's like flipping.
18.
18. Well, there you go.
Uh-huh.
That's better than 7.
It's better than 7. So before we go there, maybe we fill in Belgier. So the box is box. It's a puzzle box, and it has Elvish runes on it, and one of the Elvish runes is for an Elvish city. So they kind of surmise that might be a maker's mark of some sort. And then on one of the sides, it says an Elvish rune for like apart, or separate, or disparate, or something like that. And then the rest of them are just kind of iconographic Elvish runes that mean nothing. And they're trying to open it. And yeah, I think, is there anything else I missed? They think it might be from Sidrian or Elrasha, which are concentrated Elvish areas. Elves are everywhere. They're just concentrated, like there's actually like Elvish cities and Elvish named places in those two spots.
One of the runes evidently said, "You are here," or something like it.
Yeah, something silly like that.
Yeah.
Whose is this box then?
Yeah, that little thing there, yeah.
Yeah. And so, futzing with it after Jarl points out the symbol mechanism, and then it goes back. Maybe he does that a few times, and he's growing a little bit frustrated. So he'll use his old fallback and take a just bite it with his teeth real gently to see it. When you try to open like a blister pack of something, and it's that your teeth aren't going to do anything, but you give it a try anyway.
Yeah. You're like, my teeth are sharp. This will be fine. But you got an 18, so you're kind of sitting here poking things, and you're holding the box. You're getting a little frustrated, so you're kind of maybe like clamping down on it. So you hit 1, you hit 2, you hit the 3rd one, and then you can't figure out the 4th one, and you're kind of gripping it, and then another on your middle finger, something depresses, and you're like, oh wait, what? And then you have this other side that you're kind of pressing and figuring out because it's like apart, separated, like the 2 hands on the box sort of thing. It also opens the box. But you are quickly getting from that point, you got an 18, so you're pressing the things, and you get into the actual, as you get one last click, and then you see a little thing jut out and pop out. And so.
And I'm dead, just like that.
You're dead. No.
So the box doesn't come open like a box with a lid, but something comes out of it, out of one of the sides, or
like a little tab kind of flips up. and if you pull on the tab, it kind of it. Oh my god, my brain has to work with mechanics. So as you pull on the thing this way, something comes down. So you're kind of releasing a mechanism to open the box. It's a cool box. It's a cool.
Okay, so maybe I will. Yeah, I think I will hold it. Maybe even like reach out the window so that nobody is, and pull the tab, with
Okay.
some gusto.
All right, you just kind of yank it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like react away? Do you like kind of like go and then jump away?
Yeah. What's outside the window?
It's just kind of woods. From what I understand,
Okay.
you guys are just kind of like hanging out in a cabin in the woods because apparently you guys had a cabin just
Yeah.
hanging out that you knew that was abandoned.
Okay. Yeah, so
Alright,
I mean, if there's some like brush or something out there that, my concern would be like dropping it and having it like then shatter into a million pieces or something, but
Mhm.
if there's a bush or something that can catch it more or less safely, I will, yank the tab and then drop it and step back into the cabin in the event that it's like, a grenade or something.
Yeah. So you pull the tab, you kind of drop it, you kind of go like, and it kind of falls down. Luckily it falls down to where the opening doesn't dump anything out. But you do hear what sounds to be like a match strike or something that was supposed to start on fire. Um,
Self-destruct.
But let me get something out here. I don't have my percentiles out here. So you hear a match. Oh, you got lucky. So you hear a match. You got 93 on the percentiles, which means you're doing fine. You hear that like a match strike, like a self-destruct button, like the pulling of the tab. You hear this, like pulling on a matchstick or something. But when you drop it, it seems like it may have dampened it or snuffed the flame out or something, because it falls and you see some smoke, you smell the sulfury of a match, but nothing catches on fire. So
This is all revealing. Then I will, go out I'm in my head the wall is like, the door and then the window. So I'll go
Okay.
out the door around and make sure no pieces have fallen off and
Okay.
brush off whatever leaves might have gotten on it and whatever.
So yeah, so you pick it up, and this box is now, it looks like it is actually open. It seems like I'm sorry, I'm getting crumbs off. So the lid has slid off, but it has a catch, so you can never lose the lid because it's a nicely designed box. And inside of it is what looks to be a stone of some sort. You kind of had hypothesized that this was like a hijacked sending stone of some sort. So you're like, okay, well, this is the thing that does that. But also inside it, you can see that it's nestled in what looks to be, to your eyes, and if you pick it up and you kind of like, do your river thing and like taste it, looks to be somewhat like black powder or something explosive that would have.
The alligator's smelly head will appear over your shoulder, bringing a couple of flies with it. What's this then?
Don't know yet.
You'll be looking down at the box, sort of like mouth slack, open, just like, not sure what to make of any of this.
Let's go back inside and find out.
That's good.
All right.
So
I'll finish peeing and follow you in.
I love it.
Doesn't Balgir like go to water and like swim for like an hour every day? Like, how is he so dirty all the time?
Well, that's a good question. Ultimately, 1 hour in the day is not enough.
That's right.
Not using the soap. That's the problem. He's getting in the water, but he's not washing himself.
Just turns the dirt to mud and then.
That's right. Makes any
Cakes.
fountain brown. That's Balgare.
Yeah.
Sort of like the pig pen thing from Peanuts, right? No matter
Mhm.
what, it's sort of self-generating that way.
Yeah. So then, yeah, we'll take the box in and set it on the table, and point out probably to Ravel, that this is it's essentially there's the sending stone with the gunpowder, and now having seen what's inside the box, I will ask him again. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Like this.
The innards.
Okay, so he kind of takes the box and he's looking at it, and he's like, "Oh, this is some sort of alchemy, some sort of blasting device, powder. Well, this could be. We were looking at the. He kind of picks it up and he's kind of like looking at it, feeling the grains. Like, well, isn't this the same sort of stuff that we found residue on at the Capitol? This. All right. Well.
Can I tell from the taste of the gunpowder whether it is the same?
It is the same.
Okay.
And you kind of didn't you like taste it last time? Yeah.
Mhm.
And you were tasting it to see if it had like specific properties.
Yeah. It was something about the
I had a certain
some mineral content that was unique to a particular area. And it could have been some other one, but it was.
Yeah, you're kind of, and it was, it's like from like a mountainous region or something that's only happens in the mountains, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So you tasting it, it kind of it is the same stuff, so it would make sense. So.
Okay. So yeah, I think I will ask at this stage I would ask the group to sort of, regroup and, recount this this finding that it's the same as the blast site, it's a sending stone of some sort. Because presumably they're going about their normal business while Verfa is like overly cautiously like throwing shit out the window and
throwing boxes out the window, and you're just like,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then and then he picks up the sending stone thing, and he goes like, yeah, this looks like just like a normal sending stone to me. I mean, I don't know. So, but now you actually have the thing in the box, and you can look at it a little bit more. You can kind of.
I was gonna say,
investigate
do
it
we
more.
do? Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Does anybody around have familiarity with sending? Fairfa will ask. Do any of you know anything about sending stones?
I mean, you're always going to look at you kind of cross-eyed at that and get back to his map.
What's
no.
What's the opposite
Magic
of a help
sending
action?
No, no.
No, nothing.
Hinder action.
Yeah.
Hinder action.
So what is this? You say this is investigation?
You could do what do you want to look? You were looking at the sending stone, so now you actually have it. So before you could like casting identify on the box and things, you can kind of feel it, but now that you actually have the actual like sending stone thing, you can
Arcana maybe.
You can Arcana it. You could identify like maybe. Well, you already kind of have the identification, but you can like look at it as a specific, like, is this a specific stone? So what do you want to do with this stone now?
Let me do the Arcana check first.
Okay.
And that would be 18 for 22.
22. That's a good roll. So looking at this and rolling Arcana, and Ravel could have given you the help action. Take the help action. Roll it with advantage. Maybe you'll get a natural 20.
Maybe.
So has anybody claimed this cabin yet?
No, 14 would have been the other one. So.
Anyone with the cabin? 55.
I won this cabin.
So.
Aye. When I was on the boat coming over here, wasn't much to do every day. especially when we're getting caught in the doldrums around the middle. So anyway, I lost most of my money, but I did win this cabin off some old poor boy. And well, I was like, guys, that's me. Cash me out now. I've got my home. All right, next stop, Principality of well, where my cabin is. Totally. So, what do you think? We've been in it a wee while, eh? I'm starting to call it home.
Very nice. A couple of throw pillows.
It is kind of like a here. I'll pull you guys back too.
Just steal the line from Young Frankenstein.
So I kind of envisioned
What?
like this. It's kind of like a shabby sort of place. It has a roof that you can shelter in, but it's not much.
I quite like that picture because you can tell that the chimney, the weight of the chimney is the mortar, and this is speaking as Fairfa maybe, that as the mortar disintegrated and the chimney fell, it fell into the building, and it sort of is pushing it, side. Anyway.
And kind of luckily, because any other direction and it doesn't last as long.
Right. So maybe he's offering this up, like as Bulgair is saying that he won this cabin, that in a sort of like, how do I explain this? He's offering this information as like, as a feature, not a bug, right? Like, oh yeah, it's very nice. You have, and then he looks around for something nice. He's like, this chimney is.
I finish your sentence.
It's very nice.
Lots of ways for the fresh air to get in.
What?
AKA
Multiple viewpoints.
Oh.
Yes, it's airy. It has an airy quality to
it's
it.
very drafty, nice drafts.
In a good way.
Hey, nice drafts. Friendly drafts.
At least this time of year. Jarl is used to having no change of seasons. You always can count on the weather being one way. So, the winter is not Jarl's friend. So he's sort of like thinking about the fact that in the middle of winter, this would be a miserable place to be.
And this is roughly springtime, right? That we're.
Yeah, roughly springtime. I mean, I always start campaigns kind of in the same season as the campaign in real life is starting, but because D&D time moves slower than real life time, by the time it's like fall, I'll be like, it's June, or something silly like that. So it's about maybe mid-spring, later spring. So, but yeah. But no one has come by and claimed this cabin. If you're looking around, there's, you set up a kettle and I presume like a cauldron, sort of Dutch oven set up near the fireplace. There's no fresh cut wood there or like rugs or anything, so it seems like it's kind of been either abandoned or just kind of abandoned maybe a little bit more recently, because the house was somewhat repaired, but probably abandoned in like the last 5 years, if you're like thinking it's by the sea and it rains. So yeah, about 5 years.
So for all intents and purposes, it is Bulgair's cabin.
It is at this point Bulgair's cabin, if he wants to keep it. I think Bulgair.
So I heard that you found some. So you were out the window there, right? So what'd you find? What's going on there? Did you get it open?
Yes. And so no, I brought it back in to show.
You showed that
Ravel.
other guy, Ravel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
so then
it was a sending stone in there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then the sending stone, that was my 22 Arcana check.
Yes. So
Nice.
now we can get back to the sending stone.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll help, Matthew, but if you turn off your camera, it might help with your bandwidth. We can't see your lovely face, unfortunately, but it might help with the disconnecting and reconnecting issues.
What it was I opened up Roll20 to look at the cabin, and then
Uh-huh.
having those on was too much bandwidth. So if I stick to just Discord, I think we'll have the,
Okay.
you know.
Here, I will upload the picture of the cabin in Doctors and DMs to.
No, it's fine. I saw it already.
Okay,
Lovely
cool.
place.
Lovely place.
Lots of
Well,
fresh
you
air.
wanted sight unseen, so anyway.
All right. So
All
you got
I
the
care
settings-
about is it keeps that evil eye in the sky from looking down at us and makes me happy.
Not evil, benevolent.
Right. Yeah. Here, it may be time for you to eat.
So you got a 22 on your Arcana check. So looking at this thing, and
I think
you
the
know,
eye in the sky is neutral. That's like,
it's chaotic neutral. It does what it wants to do. It does, and doesn't care.
There's a
Whatever.
terrible prog rock song by Alan Parsons Project, I think, called Eye in the Sky, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I haven't thought of that for years. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just my cat is upside down when he's sleeping. You can see his little paws. He's just like, he's out.
Wait, I think that old boy who told me about the cabin that I won in the game, he told me about a wee secret cubbyhole where he kept the old 42, if you know what I mean.
Now you're speaking my language. Let's track that down.
Balger will go and look for the secret compartment where the whiskey is stored whilst the important business is done.
So you're like kind of breaking open things, opening things.
Breaking open my own cabin just after I got looking for this secret compartment.
Jarl's torn between joining in that and actually doing what he really should be doing, which is continuing to look at the map and ferret out more possibilities for where Carl may have ended.
I feel like you're just staring at
And-
this map and you're like pointing at things like, okay, yeah, and
Well,
oh,
you know,
that
I
also
feel like
works, and then you like turn it around.
right.
Like, oh,
I'm measuring, and I'm calculating how far he would have traveled in a day, and all these different. All right, here's the various, but the terrain is difficult here, and you know.
Careful will see him measuring with his fingers and hand him a compass. Like
Oh. Oh,
project.
that's clever. Oh, okay. All right, he'll start trying to use that.
what are those things? Like they use them for like, oh, they're all called compasses. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that compass.
I
Not
didn't-
the
I was like, aren't they called like a different thing that you use to make circles? But no, they're actually called compasses. So.
Yeah. And then while seeing Bulgair poking around and having assessed the structural integrity of the chimney, Furful will just say, "Be careful over there." Don't
I put my
don't-
fist right through some rotten wood on the other side of the cabin. Right through to the outside.
And then, like, I feel like Belger looks back with his hand
No,
through,
here.
hand through the wood, like, what?
just let me know if before you pull any bricks out. That's all I ask.
No bother, pal.
Alright.
You're the mason.
That's right.
All right, Sending Stone, Arcana check.
Oh, the old winking joke again.
All right, so you're looking at the Sending Stone. We'll get there. We'll get back there. You rolled a 22.
I'm in no hurry.
You look at the Sending Stone. You keep getting distracted. Like, wait, no, don't. And you like keep looking at it. Like, wait, no, okay, okay. So looking at the Sending Stone, or this kind of hijacked, differentiated Sending Stone, it definitely looks like it has like the standard runes of a Sending Stone. Like looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, these are the Sending Stone runes. But you can tell that a few have been maybe scratched off or kind of changed. How you change things with your pen into different letters. So if you wrote like a E, you're like trying to make it into an O. So you can tell that they have done that with certain runes. And since you're an artificer and you kind of have, arcane knowledge and that kind of stuff, and maybe Ravel's probably saying like, oh, look, like that's why they do that. Like that kind of ruins the two-way properties. And well, that one, like he's kind of like pointing out and helping you with this. And you kind of surmise that it works. So in the modern out of game, it works kind of like a tile thing, like a thing that you attach to your keys that gives GPS locations if you ask for it. So if you lose something, you can be like, hey, where is this thing? And while you can ping the tile can't really ping you. or that thing that's like the geolocator can't ping you. So there's no really like two-way communication. It's just a one-way sort of thing, if that makes sense. So if you ask for
Yes.
the location, it tells you the location. But if someone had that thing that is telling the location, it can't like hack it and look at the like what IP addresses try to access it, because that's not how that technology works.
Right.
So it's kind of the same. So back in context, in the fantasy context, this sending stone definitely looks like it is. It always has. It looks like it has like some runes that figure out location. If I mean, it's probably like relative location. Like I am 20 miles from this point or from you, sort of thing. Maybe it's doing that. And I guess if it's doing that, you could probably kind of sort of trace it in a triangulation sort of way. But as you're kind of looking at it, you realize that you can't use the stone itself to trace back. Um, Maybe if there's a way to, um, like, magically figure out the signal to talk to the stone. My brain is trying to
Right.
work this out while I'm trying to work it out with you guys. If you can access the stone and what the stone is actually saying, like, hey, I am 12 miles from you, I am 2 miles from you underground or something, maybe then you can kind of triangulate that way. But at this point, there's nothing really that you can do with the sending stone to figure out where the other sending stone is. That's kind of what you surmised.
Right. Okay.
But you can also see other things about the stone, like it is a local. It's just a stone that someone picked up that made into a magical thing. So if you want to figure out like the
Yeah.
mineral properties of it or something.
That was kind of my next thought.
Okay.
So, but so based on what you're saying, we could not create like an interceptor of any kind that like when it sends its location, we can see what it's sending. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Or could we?
you could kind of like if it's like two walkie-talkies and you have a third walkie-talkie and you tune that walkie-talkie to the other two walkie-talkies, you could maybe figure out what that is going back and forth. But right now you can't just like figure that out at the moment.
Right. Okay. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Because yeah, I mean, if we could get it, if we could know it's saying, "Hey, other stone, I'm 800 kilometers, you know,
From you
due west
or
above you, whatever, whatever." Then we
yeah.
could,
You can
work
kind
backwards.
of work backwards from that.
Yeah, but I think since it is a of machined or manipulated stone, I will also check that.
Yeah.
Which I guess that would be nature, maybe? No. History?
Do you have proficiency in masonry tools, or?
I do.
And you're kind of. See, this is the problem. This is one of the issues with 5e knowledge skills.
Right.
Roll nature, but maybe with like a +2, like an extra
Right.
proficiency bonus on top of that, because you know stone.
Right.
So maybe I should look into some house rules about knowledge systems and knowledge skills, because there's not a lot of room for that in 5e.
Jarl, can I look over your shoulder at your map?
Oh,
Muted.
he's muted.
Sure, no problem.
Every geography, place names might help.
Yeah. Here, let me all pull you over to the Zeta. To the map.
19. Oh dear. All right. I hope the DM is prepared. Right.
Let's see.
8, 27. 27.
Wow.
27. Nice. So you are looking at this stone. I feel like you have like a little like tiny hammer that you're hammering it.
Yeah. So basically, dental tools to scrape off a little bit, and
Yeah, scrape off a little bit, kind of like feel it in your hands, kind of trying to see if it's reflective or if you have a magnet, see if it's like all the kind of Mohs hardness scale, even though Mohs hardness scale is not invented yet, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what am I saying? So you're kind of looking at the stone, you get a really good idea of what this stone is. And it's kind of this weird, it's a, oh man, I took geology in college. Let me see if I can pull some of that knowledge back. It looks like it's a igneous, like a volcanic rock of
Yep.
some sort, maybe a basalt. It's kind of a darker stone, like a dark gray, so it makes sense that it's a basalt. Definitely not like a sandstone or a slate. So it's a quite hard rock. So the chisels are kind of crude because they have to chisel into things. And you know that while Zark-Tur is a mountainous range, there's not a lot of basalt because it was made with like the normal way mountains are made, so getting pushed up. Whereas there is a lot more volcanic activity near in the south. So maybe Belgair can even be like, oh yeah, there's been talk of volcanoes in the south for a long time. And you know that there is some volcanic activity or something like that in near Palalia and Zidrian. You probably passed by a few dormant volcanoes on your way through, and you're like, hey, look, that's a volcano, or used to be a volcano, as they are perhaps little like kind of lone mountains as volcanoes are. So, but yeah, it kind of, you don't really have a lot of knowledge about the geography in the southern area, like Caliphate or the Al Rasha area, but you definitely know that there is volcanic activity in the southwest near Sidrian.
So probably narrowing it down to that
Yeah.
Palalia Sindrian border
Yes.
area.
Yeah.
So.
You're kind of like,
Alright.
okay, so Sidrian, okay.
You thinking about stones there, Farfa?
Always.
Aye. There was
This
a
one-
boy. Aye, there was a boy lived in a town no far from me where I grew up, and he was always looking at wee stones for a riverbed. He was coming out with some daft ideas, like saying like rocks were nothing but dead creatures that had died and compacted together. Well, that was the final straw. Aye, he was burnt at the stake.
Mm.
Right.
Oh, I love
Can't
how
be coming out
Matter.
with things like that for my children and stuff, eh? It's no moral.
You know, if you'd spent as much time underground as I have, you might understand that that poor fellow was not out of his head at all. I just got to tell you that. It's kind of obvious if you're down there when you see the full skeleton of a purple worm encased in granite, spanning the length of a cavern. That's what time and pressure can do to something.
But that'd be
poor
bad.
sod.
That'd be like saying digging down into the earth's like going back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be like that. Yeah. And what's the problem with that anyway? It's as sensible as anything else in this crazy world.
So Fairfa is he's gonna dip his hand into the soup and pull out just some, herbal material and slap it down on the table, and then he's gonna take one of the dumplings and slap it down next to it, and he's gonna essentially build a Play-Doh to explain to Bulgar exactly how you get from living material to petrified material over, and he's gonna it's just like a diatribe of overly technical, he's like smashing it together in compression, and he probably takes out some masonry tools and, cuts it apart and then puts
Shows
it
what a
back.
cross section looks
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Or
Right
he's,
now, these cows are smaller, but the ones over there are far away,
Yes. Yes. And he's probably like eating it as he goes, because he's hungry too.
So how are we going to spend our 3 weeks here? I say we go scout in the Principality of Jamal, then we can come back to Trishaya, to Vila or whatever. And what's the name of the capital? Is it Vila? I can't read.
Yeah, it's Gila or Vila. Yeah, same thing.
Okay, we can. Oh, Gila, I see.
Yeah.
We can come back and get the word from her, and we'll be all set. We can find him. Maybe we'll find him on our own. We won't even need her help. Crickets. I'm hearing crickets.
What had 3 weeks like?
There is.
Well, we can find out a lot in 3 weeks. I'll tell you that.
Do we want to do 3 weeks?
Oh,
I guess,
look who it is. Shut the front door behind you, why don't you? Letting the draft in. friendly drafts.
So I'm just voicing what I think would be Jarl's priority at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's not even concerned about the Sending Stone or anything like that. So
Mhm.
This is not me pushing the party to do anything. This is just what Jarl would definitely say.
And so, in his explanation of how igneous rocks are formed, with his dumpling volcano and his, soup magma, Careful will, reveal that this particular igneous rock can only be from one of two places, and it can't be from this place because it's sort of Zeno's paradox, type explanation. And so he's gesturing on Jarl's map, that region. What's it? I missed.
Zebo's paradox, you were saying. I'm 100% with you, like.
Yeah. Arrow's in one of two places. It's either where it is or where it isn't. And it isn't where it isn't because it isn't there. It can't be where it is because if it was there, it couldn't move. So so it has to be an igneous rock because. All right. So anyway, so then
you know where we need to go.
Yeah.
Do just what you know about this rock just by looking at it.
Yes, and tasting it.
And tasting it. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So given that, that's back burner, right? What was I saying? So this is his mechanism for catching up the rest of the group about where this Sending Stone is from. That's where the other one is. If we care about this tablet, that's where we need to go. The whole thing. And then, realizing, looking at Jarl's map, that Jarl doesn't give a shit about any of that. He will. What's that?
No, go ahead.
He's ready to jump on board with the whole Jamal thing as well. So, okay. I mean, the Sending Stone it's not going to go anywhere. It's a rock.
That Jamal. Now, there's a name that rings a bell in my old ear, in my lug. That's what we call ears, my lug. So it's ringing a bell in my lug. That name Jamal. What's that all about then?
I'll take that as a yes. Hi.
I don't think Balgir was.
Let's say we go there and only come back up to the witch if we have to.
I mind the witch, because we were scoping out that witch. If you pay her a gold penny, gold coin, she'll tell you a story.
I feel
But then something happened. There was a wee ball. One of your wee balls. You put your balls in the witch's pocket.
Yes, they are detachable and in numerous number.
I feel like Ren is at this point going like, okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
either nothing has happened or the entire name of the game has changed, and I can't really tell which.
So
ostensibly, I should be able to track her location. The last time I checked, I don't know how much time has passed. I've been staring at the woodworking.
Been looking for that secret compartment with me to find the whiskey.
That's
For the
right.
boy who told me about it, the same boy who I won this cabin off a sea game. Been telling you about this cabin for 3 months. We're finally here. Is it know everything I tell you it would be?
You won a shitty cabin.
I think the cabin is very nice. I mean, there's
a chimney.
bricks.
Bricks and the low quality wood.
And
hardly enough space to live. We're breathing on each other here.
The other thing to keep in mind. Okay, so one, I don't know of very many Dungeons and Dragons campaigns where the world building goes to the level of mineral deposit. But having done that, I have a question, which is should we assume that this world is spherical?
You don't know. You don't know.
Okay. Well, so here's my question. Which is, if we go east to Jamal, could we go then east, from a port in Jamal further to go, to Bulgar's home and then down to Sindrian?
So
Whoa. Who's saying anything like going to my home?
Well,
We're not going in my home.
just the no. I would say no. This is I will say that this is the known world, the known map. There might have been some stories of people attempting to go east from Jamal or west from Zaraktur. They haven't really been seen again, so people have kind of written that area off as there be monsters here.
Well, that's a decision. I kind of just assumed there'd be a contingent of flat earthers who think they fell off the world. Especially after the Dark Ages just happened.
And also the world ending. So, yeah, so it is understood that it might be round, but also no one's come back from those travels, so we don't know. So most of the trade routes are sticking in this area. I'm going to take this opportunity to fill in Lud.
Yes.
So Lud.
Yeah.
So they figured out how to open the puzzle box, and looking at the puzzle box more in detail, they found a kind of a maker's mark, or what Verfa identified as a maker's mark, but instead of an artisan name, it's a city name. So that's kind of weird.
Oh, okay.
That
is weird.
And
maybe the artisan's name is the city name.
Who knows? But the city name is Elvish, and there are 2 spots that have Elvish city names. Like, elves are everywhere, but there are kind of like concentrated areas that actually have Elvish city names, and that's Sidrian and Al Rasha. Sidrian being in the southwest, Al Rasha being next to the Caliphate. Yeah. Then inside they open the puzzle box to get to the sending stone, and inside the sending stone there seemed to be like a match mechanism that would have exploded the whole thing because there's a bunch of black powder in the puzzle box. Luckily,
that's low tech.
Luckily, it didn't go off.
That's what you get for using black powder. I mean, jeez.
I mean, what else would you use?
We assume that Bertha
there are
was told
more.
That there was a chance that the thing could have exploded.
Mm-hmm.
There are more reliable low tech solutions to causing things to explode. It just so happens that black powder is ubiquitous.
This is true.
Are you on my side or the box?
This is a good look.
Lud's not on anyone's side. He just wants good craftsmanship.
I mean, Lud would be very disappointed about the fact that they just shoved some black powder in a box and just said, it'll go off. Like, I mean...
Importantly, the black powder is the same, having tasted it, as the black powder that was used to create the explosion that buried the library.
Oh, that is good to know.
So... And then, so they figured out the Sending Stone is kind of, so out of mystical world, the Sending Stone kind of works like something you attach to your keys, like a geolocator on your keys. So it really is just a one-way transmission. But he did figure out that if somehow you created a thing to intercept, to talk to the geolocator, you could figure out if it was saying, "Oh, I'm 12 miles from you," or if it's like more of an exact location. So you can kind of then use that to triangulate, but you'd have to make something to talk to it. This is not how Sending Stone works. I've been trying to figure out how you can use the Sending Stone all game.
I've just got one question though. Wait, when you find the Sending Stone, you find it in the library. Is that where you find it?
Yeah, this
in Harold's bag.
The puzzle box was next to the tablet that got stolen.
So, aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
And then again, Haverfa with his tasting minerals figured out that this is a basalt rock, and that Sidrian is known to be a volcanic area. So you've kind of narrowed it down to it coming from Sidrian.
Continent. No, not continent. Well, kind of. I mean, you look at the map, it's like a big island.
It's a big island, and also has some territory on the island next to it. So it's a decent area.
The things this dwarf knows about stone at mental. Telling you about all these volcanoes, fucking pressure coming together, making unbelievable. And he's telling me he can look at that stone and ken what the one location, the one place that's fair that we have to go to. Unbelievable. Just rubbing it on his gums and stuff. And I thought, wee bit sketchy, didn't know about this guy to start with, but honestly, he did a wee show him a point to the mush of dumplings and soup on the table. Honestly, look at it. Because Haldir is comically ignorant of the sort of this discursive necessity of such an example.
Well, just don't start going around and putting things in your mouth. You never know if Verfa's a little better at not dying because of it than you are.
Yeah, he's built his resistance.
I built up a resistance to iocane powder over several years.
Yeah. So.
Also, from last time, Jarl now knows that Carl is in the east, and they've kind of surmised that he might have gone to Jamal, the Principality of Jamal, which is kind of like a rich sort of outlaw backwater area. Like, it's kind of isolated, and if people are running from the law, they kind of go to Jamal. So it kind of is like a playground sort of area, kind of a laissez-David, laissez-faire sort of place. That might be where Carl went, because he was going east. So
I don't remember. Does Carl know more about like the events of the shattering than we do? Because he literally being swept up in it.
Right. So he would have a different journey to tell on it, right? So it created a bit of a cataclysm, and before we headed out, we were kind of separated because he sacrificed himself a bit, right? So we could get away. So we don't know what happened to him. So then we headed above ground. So he may have had a much longer journey through a much more transformed Underdark before he could make his way out.
Aye, wait, so but this guy, that's your brother, right, Yal?
Yeah.
I see, aye. You got separated.
So this is where the quest to solve the riddle of the box and the quest to get Carl we can outside of character, right? That we can unite those two narratives by seeking out Carl to get as much information about the shattering as possible, because we think that this this box is somehow connected to the people who might be somehow connected to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least in my head.
Right.
And I could spend the next 3 weeks, if we're going to wait for the sorcerer person who will tell a story for a coin. I could spend that time trying to make the interceptor stone.
Where'd she go?
She's
She
just
goes.
she's doing stuff, man. I mean,
She couldn't care where she lives. That's part of the magic. That's part of the magic.
Morgan, if I focus on the transmitter that I planted, is it still just in the same place it was?
yeah. Well, because she's there for what you surmised from talking to this mysterious witch. She's there for like supplies for like her components for things, and then she'll like leave, and then she'll do the magic thing, and then she'll come back. Like
so, it just hasn't been long enough for her to start her journey yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's only been like a day.
Well, that's as long as the thing sits there. I thought she'd go home overnight or something, but she sat there all night.
Well, I mean, if she lives in the
got her
woods,
wagon.
if she lives in the woods and she has a wagon that she comes in with, she can sleep in the wagon while she's there preparing things and making a little money on the side, and then leave.
Miscalculation on my part. I thought it was stuffed with things.
It is stuffed with things, but somehow she sleeps in there. I mean, I've seen.
Say lads. I've heard she's making sailors whenever she comes into town. But we don't get on, me and her, so probably not a good idea we see each other.
I've met individuals skilled enough in magecraft to change their size. I wonder if she has a tiny bed. It becomes small.
Or she has a small bed that she makes big.
Ooh. I can't say anything about that in character because it came from the DM, but that's another interesting proposal.
That's just a thought that one of us had. Sometimes when the DM says, I did want to mention, by the way, and Haya knows this, just to make sure the DM knows, I don't think the rest of the party would know, is that Carl is a half-brother, really, and he is a Dwergar. So he's a Grey Dwarf. So when he's above ground, he hates the sun a lot more than I do. And would also be a bit memorable for that, probably, right? Maybe part of the reason the witch remembers him.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine somebody hating the sun more than you do, pal. Honestly, just saying. Like,
yeah,
it's so stark, because back home when the sun's out, everybody just like comes out, takes all their clothes off, drinks until they're absolutely off it, starts fighting, shagging, whatever.
Sure, they do that, and then they leave themselves open to having their guts ripped out by giant birds that you all have told me about. I mean, it's a madness. It's a strange madness that afflicts all of you up here. I'll never understand it. Never.
And remembering the myths that Balgir was spewing before about dwarves, he'll just sort of sarcastically add, and you wonder why we enslaved you.
But yeah, the witch actually had recognized. The witch had recognized Ati's like clothing being kind of not from like kind of in a weird spot, and she's like, "Oh, I recognize someone who had those clothing." And then she was like, "And he was gray." And it's like, "Oh wait, gray dwarf. What is? Tell me more about that sort of thing." That's what
there you go. Cool.
Good.
My cat is even more splayed out now.
Yeah. So
is there an NPC here?
Yes.
Yeah.
His name is Ravel. He is an artificer. He's just been playing with
very
his bugs.
He's been so far useless. So
has he?
Well, he's given you advantage.
That's true.
He's also been there for me to be like. Also, Ravel's probably helping you with figuring this stuff out because he's also there. Yeah. He told you about the trade networks, the Elvish trade networks.
That's true. Okay, so he's not as useless
100% useless
as Harold was or whatever. We don't need to cut him loose necessarily, but I guess from my perspective, Verfa is like all on board at this point to find Carl because it's a piece of the larger puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
what's Haya doing right now?
Haya is talking and struggling with the Turkish Airlines.
Okay. Sorry. No worries.
I've been a bit distracted
okay.
because of that. It's just like apparently they are overbooked, and they were like, if you don't buy a seat now, you're gonna have to reschedule. I'm like, no. And I've been trying to buy a seat and all those kind of things.
So take care of that. No, that's
all,
much more important.
Taken care of. I'm grieving up to my 90 bucks because it took $90 to get it.
That's like extortion, man. They're like, we made the mistake, so you have to pay extra.
Right.
There were like 5 seats left. You wanna keep them? I was like, okay, I'll pay. I don't wanna reschedule for a month from now. So basically, Haya is only focused on finding Kyle. He's not really interested in pursuing the the other things at the moment. But not to say that he doesn't want to do that anymore. But like he wishes to find Kyle first, or like as a top priority. But he's still in the game of like finding the wizard person who stole the tablet and stuff. But also, I think Haya kind of believes that we have the stone, like the reading of the stone, and we just need a person to find it transcribed, like translated to us for us. So like, instead of, like maybe going after the wizard, we can find a person like a partner instead, for translation and go from there. I mean, it's kind of sad that we don't have a wizard anymore, so it can just comprehend
Yeah.
language and just like read it off.
Maybe we could track Kamiko down, and
Was
We
it
could
the
send
writing?
a letter. We could send Kamiko a letter. I can't write, so it'll have to be one of you. I can dictate though.
Wasn't one of the features of the stone that it was an old enough version of Elvish that we couldn't find somebody to translate it? Or am I maybe
Yeah,
misremembering?
it was
It's
in.
the alphabetically in Elvish. Like
Yeah, I was able
form
to
of
read a
Elvish,
few
but-
words, right?
Yeah, because it was in the ancient Elvish script that Underdark Undercommon is based on, roughly. So you could catch a few of the words, but overall it's in ancient Elvish. So someone who knows modern Elvish might get some of the similar words that Jarl, or different words that Jarl got, but they wouldn't be able to translate the whole thing since it is in like
Right.
it's like us trying to read Old English. We can get
Has
some of the
anybody
words.
has anyone with a background in Elvish given it a shot?
Yeah, I did.
Jarl
Ah.
did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Gotta get over to Palulia.
Palulia.
We just need a wizard, basically,
To Jamal.
to read the stuff.
Just kidding.
So you're kind of
The only-
debating Jamal.
We could kidnap a wizard. I know, Minda said there was a place where wizards like to drink. We could go and see if there's a drunk one, lock him over the head, drag him back to the cabin, tie him up. It's just an idea.
What
You
if
just
they
ask for
lie
help.
about? What if they lie about what it says on the stone because we kidnapped them?
Well, tell them we'll fucking kill him if they don't tell us what it says. Aye.
If
Scare
they
him up a
lie,
bit. See what he
I
says.
don't think this is a viable plan.
Balgear is Scottish Batman.
Well, he can
it's
turn
just
into
an
a
idea.
bat.
There's no such thing. Hey, there's no such thing as a wrong answer. No such thing as a wrong answer when we're just, storming about with our brains.
Storming about with our brains. It's always a good idea.
Right?
Don't leave the brains at home.
You tell me a better idea that'll merit results sooner than us just going into town now. You know the rest.
Now that we all have a belly full of broth, and I was trying to come up with a more alliterative way to say dumplings, but
Dumpling.
Is there any reason why we shouldn't rest before we come up with the next plan?
I don't see any other reason. Although the only beat of the story that you guys haven't seemed to come across is I heard a rumor a while back in my travels that there was some events that occurred in Chesgao that precipitated the shattering in a meaningful way. And there might be some wreckage there that's worth exploring. But in earnesty, I think going to the Principality of Jamal is probably the best move, since it's going to be a pain in the ass to walk our asses halfway across the world to walk them all the way back.
All right.
And you might be able to get
Well,
seafarer.
if I go into Jamal,
maybe.
I'd want to sink my 40 gold pieces into something, you know, maybe we could pick up something, you know, take it with us, sell it for a profit. You know what I mean? If we're going to be putting our foot to the road, we might as well be making something out of it. You can.
Do you mean like guarding a caravan or something? Is that what you're kind of what?
We are the caravan. Why got someone else's
Yes.
caravan with me? We've got the coin. We got the manpower. We can get it going ourselves.
You want to invest.
I'm saying maybe now's the time to stop being a moocher and start being a I'm just saying. How far is it to Jamal? What, 100 miles? Something
Well,
like that?
Are you trying to do this thing? I was walking down the street and I was walking away from the Sultan and took a moment away from you guys and stepped into an alleyway, and some asshole was trying to sell me on investing in Electrum. Like, it's not used anywhere. I don't understand why he's trying to get people to invest. He's like, you got to put your platinum down on Electrum right now. It'll go up in 10 years. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Is this what this is, Bulgar? Are you in the Electrum market? Are you trying to get us to invest in some defunct currency?
No, listen,
Is
no.
Bulgar that cousin
How
who
did you
invests in
listen to
Bitcoin
our
and follows Bitcoin every day?
Look, been telling you forever, all right? Carrying your wealth around in coins is doing nobody any good. You want to buy here, go there, sell there. That's how it works. That's just how the world works. That's what the boys told me on the ship. They told me all about it. I've got it all up here. We'll go into tune.
Okay, it's not making sense
go
to
to-
me. I need a spreadsheet.
We'll find something, something nobody can sell in here, because it's too cheap. The market's flooded with this stuff, and we'll just buy up cheap, take it with us. Otherwise, what we doing? We gotta make money. That's what we've got to do. I'm just saying, if we're going to Jamal anyway, we might as well, because otherwise we'll be spending money on the way. My 40 gold's going to be eating itself up, because I like stopping in every tavern on the way, And if I had something else to sell in every tavern on the way, maybe it would be a better way to, balance the books. That I know how to read books.
When we're heading to Jamal, everybody, it's going to be a different thing. We're going to be making good time. We're not going to be wasting time. We're going to be heading there. It's going to be efficient. We're all going to be, we're not, we've had a fair couple of good drinks between us, Balgar, and I respect that. But now we're on the job, and being on the job means that we stick to a schedule. We hit the road and we keep moving.
Are we
I'll
on
tell you
the
what,
job?
Bulgar.
Are we on the job, or are we just trying to find your brother?
What more of a job do you need? I'd find your brother if your brother were lost.
Aye, but I'd pay you.
Oh. Hey, look, all right, if it's going to be that way, Haya and I we can try to defray tavern expenses if what we've done for each other to this point.
Sentence. It's done.
I mean,
That's
yeah. I mean, we've all
Lodging.
seen
Lodging, not drink.
we've
No,
we've all
you
seen
didn't-
their ability to turn a
it's a sentence, so no, it doesn't count, eh? I put
What's
the full
that,
stop
Verify?
right there.
I was saying we've all seen their. I mean, that's how we all met, right? We've all
Right.
seen their ability to just construct wealth from the poor saps around them.
It's true.
Structuring structures of wealth.
So, and I'll tell you what, Bulgaria, if you're looking for something to sell, I know a thing or two about herbs and plants and whatever. I'll keep an eye out on the way.
Oh, didn't he go to market? We'll find something on the road. Nah, it's all right. Didn't worry about it, Hertha. You've convinced me with your rock knowledge, but we're not going to be picking weeds and trying to hawk them,
All right, well, let's roll. Let's get that rest and get an early start.
Alrighty.
Aye.
Oh, we
I
lost Ren.
think Ren's computer got turned off. It says put
Oh,
lesson learned. Put power strip in less precarious position.
Been there.
Well,
I-
that's him sleeping.
Yeah.
All right. So our belly's full of dumplings and soup. We take a rest. We bid goodbye to Ravel and send him back to the capital. And
Ravel will
Yeah, I think
thank you for the good meal and the theatrics, and then probably head out.
and I mean, we've solved the this elven box puzzle, so we can. I mean, we'll stay on good terms with him and say, if you need any more, you want us to take another look with the explosion, whatever, send us a missive or something.
Yeah. Is anyone taking guards for the night?
Wow, it's my
Yeah.
hunch.
why don't we each take a 2-hour shift?
Sweet.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Got to make sure the shack doesn't fall down on top of us.
uh-huh. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Alrighty. So, Brennan's back.
I sure did hit the power supply on my computer and knock the cable out of it. This new office thing is a time.
All right. So they're just going to sleep. We're going to have some good old watching happening.
Good old watching.
Good old watching. All right. So, who's around at like midnight, 2 a.m. that area? I guess-
DM PMing you something.
Someone with dark vision.
So probably one of the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair if I can do that, I guess.
Okay. I'm being PM'd in a moment. So what you kind of so whoever takes it. So Verfa is taking it. Let me just get back up here so I can see y'all. So I just realized that I had my map this up this whole time. Whatever. I had my different layers on the screen. Oops. So during the night, roll me a quick perception check, Verfa.
Sure. Oh, 14 plus 3. 17.
17. Oh yeah, you're good. So you are looking at things. You're looking out. It's pretty dark. So you don't really see. There's not a lot of definition. It's dim light. It's dark. It's maybe a crescent moon. So there's some moonlight, but not a lot. And you're looking out into these woods, kind of looking at trees. And as you're looking out the window, and I presume that Balgar is snoring behind you, you do hear a few somewhat familiar voices. You kind of recognize one.
That's worse than unfamiliar voices.
Indeed it is. You kind of hear I need to be drinking water. That's fine. So you hear you hear footsteps. They get a little bit closer, and as they get closer, you kind of hear grumblings or mumblings that are kind of you recognize them as not Xavier, but a few other of the people from the scribe order that you brought the prince back. Not Harold either. So kind of just the two grunts that you were with as you were escorting the prince back to the capital. And you kind of hear them. You also, there seems like there's 3 people. Maybe one of them is like someone else that you don't recognize. But there's definitely voices that you recognize from that troop that you traveled with. And they're kind of murmuring. You hear something about, well, maybe they stole the tablet. Like, Harold wouldn't do something as rash as that, and it sucks what happened to him, and kind of more shuffling, more leaves moving, and they go, oh, well, if they don't, they say they don't have the tablet, but what if, well, who would have the tablet? Well, and they're kind of talking, and they say like, oh, those must be someone who wants trouble. Like, Xavier talks about this tablet, and it's imperative that we get it back. And then one of the guys like, well, we'll get it back because they definitely have the tablet. No one could have teleported in. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. And then he goes, hey, well, but they said they don't. And so you kind of hear the rustling kind of get closer and closer as you can hear them better. And you start to see them. Maybe you're kind of like in a clearing sort of area, and you see them round into the clearing. There's 3 of them dressed in, scholarly types. So
their name for clearing is the kill zone.
They're kind of, you could say that they're kind of in the kill zone, but they're rounding the bend. There's 3 of them. They seem like they're maybe sneaking around. One guy definitely looks like he's not a wizard, more of a fighter sort of deal, but there's only 3 of them. What does Werfa do?
Is peeing myself a free action? No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say yes. Or even a reaction, you could say.
Yeah. No.
So you're not seeing yet.
DM says, "Wait, I have to check the rules on that." And you say, "Too late."
So you're kind of are in the window, looking out. So you can duck it back into the window, if you need to or if you want to.
Yeah, and we don't have any kind of. People are sleeping, so presumably it's dark. I don't need to like extinguish any candles or anything.
Yeah, there's no candles or anything. You got dark vision, so you're seeing in dim light.
Okay.
You guys do have horses that are, tied up by the cabin. So you guys weren't necessarily sneaky about going to this cabin. You were just like, let's meet out at this cabin. Let's go. So.
Right.
And it's
I think I will. I will duck down, and
okay.
with a tuned ear to see.
All right.
To listen rather than see.
So nice. So these guys kind of, they get a little bit quieter as they round into in the clearing, and you hear, roll me another perception check real quick.
18 again.
18. All right. So 18, you hear. Oh yeah. So you hear 2 people kind of walk off. The third person you don't hear, so you can't quite track them as he's moving around. Okay, he got better than your perception score. But the other 2 definitely, they seem like they're moving around the back of the cabin. You kind of hear the horses kind of neigh a little bit, like, oh, there's people here that we don't know. You hear them kind of move around. I think there's only really one, like a front-facing window, and that's pretty much it. Like, there's not a lot of windows in this cabin. But you can hear them kind of moving around out back. The other person you don't hear, like their footsteps. They must have just gone quiet and stealthy and kind of moved up. But as you're kind of sitting there, you do hear. Yeah, he's not that. He's not. He gets. You hear like maybe hands on the windowsill, like maybe a creak of the wood, and you kind of are like, oh, there's someone there. And the creaking kind of sits there, and if you look up, you roll a stealth to observe this person breaking into your cabin, if you want to, or you can just sit there and like feel it, I guess. But you hear the creaking. You maybe think that he's shifting his weight around to get a better look. But then yes.
Excuse me. Where is everybody sleeping? Like, are we?
I mean, it's pretty small. We're probably all around each other, right? I mean.
Yeah, I presume there was like an old table, and then everyone.
Yeah, except for Balgir.
Yeah. I imagine Lubier's just kind of slumped up against the wall, facing the door.
Mm-hmm.
Balgir will be, he'll have turned into some sort of vermin form in order to go into one of the holes he's busted out the wall to find his bloody secret compartment. And maybe forgotten about it. Maybe we brought a lot of beer with us, so he's probably, it would have gone to that point in the evening where beer was just bloating him and he wanted to go hard. So he turned into a rat or a mouse, went into the walls. Nobody's seen him since. Probably about 11 o'clock at that point. So he's probably fallen asleep as a mouse within the walls. And that's dangerous, right? Because if he metamorphosizes back into a human, he could die if the cabin falls down, one or the other.
So I presume. Oh, we're both short. That's a problem. So I will. So me being, near the window, and Jarl being opposite. He's always prepared for trouble, even when he's sleeping, and knowing that he's also can see in the dark. I will. I probably will have to take like a, baton or something out of my pack that should probably.
Is your homunculus out right now?
Oh yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so I will send the homunculus to nudge Jarl awake.
All right. So I always wake up expecting trouble, so I just open my eyes and I look around immediately, and I see this thing, and then I look at Verfa.
And I will just point up to the window.
At the window, and I'm gonna nudge Haya awake immediately. Then.
Okay.
Haya just like wakes up, and
are you guys making noise? Are you turning around?
Quiet.
No, I'm not even moving.
Yeah.
I just like woke up and like giving Jarl a look like, what's up?
All right.
And I'm gently then reaching for my light hammer, and then my quarterstaff in my other hand.
Oh, and then Haya will also just like will have what's his face, arm blades going on,
So Jarl's, facing the door so he can kind of see the window, and you do see, what looks to be one of the order people, sitting there with his hands kind of like looking around, trying to see if he can get a good look at the different, see if anyone's bags are visible or any of that kind of stuff, and looking around, he probably sees the flower, and so 13. Quickly roll me kind of like a pseudo stealth roll. So just roll me a stealth roll.
Okay, sure.
All of us?
All of you. Who's awake?
Okay.
16.
Okay.
17.
I suppose I should roll one too.
Yeah.
Will you roll two? One for me. I've got no modifier.
That's gonna be, I think, a 10.
Okay.
And for me?
Do you want me to roll you one? Okay, sure.
Yeah, you have no modifier?
No modifier? 13. Bulgar is a flat 13.
Alrighty. So, what did...
So I'm not snoring too loudly.
So we got 16, 17. What did Jarl roll?
12.
12? Okay. So, you kind of are like sneakily trying to grab like your quarter stuff, like looking at him and like trying to see it. And you see him kind of like looking around. And then you see he catches maybe the glint of like your bracer kind of shine a little bit, or he senses some movement, and then you see him just immediately kind of pull his hands away back up, and you hear him in Verva, who's like right next to the thing, you hear him whistle very softly, and the other two people seem to very quickly start, because they roll terribly on their stealth, start tromping through the leaves and crawling, and they quickly seem to be retreating.
DM.
Yes.
I'm going to use, as a bonus action, my coordinated movement skill and give everybody in the room 60 feet of movement.
Okay.
On top of their normal, or not 60 feet movement. Excuse me, half their movement speed back, not 60 feet. So they have double. They have their movement speed plus half if they want to chase after it.
Okay.
So
And that...
you guys all feel energized for some reason.
Oh my god!
Since I already said that I was in the walls, is there any way that I could use that 60 feet of extra action?
It's your movement speed plus half of your movement speed. So if you have 30, it's an extra 15. I misspoke.
Right.
It's 60 feet range.
Yay.
60. Oh, okay. So
45
is there
feet of
any
movement.
I could, if I already said I was a mouse or a rat, let's say a field mouse. If I could scuttle, right, find a way, scuttle out under the ground, under the leaves, flank them, get behind them, you know, and then give them the old spooker out.
In other words, get in front of them if they're moving away, you mean,
Yeah.
right? Like basically on the other side of them.
So I'm going to write that down because it's about the time that I need to start leaving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is a good.
This is
it's a
an
good
exciting
spot.
moment. Yeah, for that. Sure.
DM question.
Yes.
I'll just say
So-
I would Jarl would definitely take advantage of that extra movement to try and make chase. Sorry, go ahead,
Yes.
Griff.
Mm-hmm. So the spell Speak with Animals
Okay.
explicitly says that your ability to ask an animal to do something for you is at the GM's discretion.
Okay.
So if I could cast Speak with Animals and untie one of the horses, would there be a limitation on me telling that horse to go somewhere?
It would have to be. Horses are smart, so there's some leeway. So if you say chase that person or go after this person, they might be able to do that. But if you say go to the market, they might not
Right.
understand that. Or run 60 feet. They don't know what 60 feet is. They just run.
Right.
So
Yeah, so my thought was, if they're running away from the cabin, just saying, stop him, right? And that the horse could, hook around and just get in his way enough that we could catch up to him or something
yeah,
like that.
I think that's something that is within the purview of the horse. If you say like go get person that you've seen or that
Right.
person that you just saw, go after them, I think that'd be something that wouldn't be outside of a horse's knowledge memorization range.
All right.
So
For next time, then.
I wrote it down.
If necessary, I will action surge in order to get all the way to them too. So
Okay.
I've got a lot of movement available to me if
That's
I do it that
also,
way.
you have tiny legs, so you have to kind of like keep up with everyone because you only got to move.
Yeah,
like
it's strange.
20,
I
25.
use this custom lineage thing, and that means you get 30 feet of movement speed. But I'd be happy to knock that down to 25 because I'm really a dwarf,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have-
that's where like Fairfa, if this comes down to a foot race of any kind, I have to count on a horse, right? Like
you're more in, like you're not for sprinting. You're more
Yeah.
for sprinting, not endurance. That's
yes, and that's a bit of a waddle.
all right.
Wasted on cross country.
So you guys are more than welcome to chat. I am the one streaming currently, so if someone just wants to pull up Streamlabs and just say, "Hey, we're gonna be chatting," or you guys can hang out after the fact. Doesn't matter to me.
Well, I have something. Since you said you had to go, I'm going to take advantage of that and help my daughter. So I'm going to ring off everybody.
Okay.
But that was a lot of fun. I can't wait for next week
Yeah.
or 2
And,
weeks from now, right?
2 weeks from now.
Yep. 2 weeks from
Yeah.
now.
So I will probably turn off the stream and you guys can chat afterwards. But
Yes.
Okay.
by
Thanks.
stream, it was a great game, even though it was short. So it was
Short but sweet.
short
Short
but
but sweet.
sweet. And I'm glad that I didn't
Alright.
have a lot planned. I was just kind of like, figure out what the box is. So,
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone. Have a
Bye,
good
everyone.
day, good stream. Bye.
Tea.
Bye.